Dun 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 dun. Right, I'm back. So there we go. Oh dear, I tell you. So hopefully we're working. Hopefully you can see me again. I've got a sweat on again. We've got some possible under boob sweat happening. It's just all gonna go wrong. I think. Oh, I should wear the specs, but I have to see. Hopefully they don't steam up. So anyway, as this one will be the only one, if you've just joined me, if this is the stream that I end up keeping, then essentially what we're going to do is we're going to use the Daedalus V2. We're going to build some wire and make it happen. It's something that I have been asked about. It's something that I should have reviewed ages ago, didn't get around to. And the Daedalus V2 isn't without its issues, and so because of that I figured why the hell not do a completely live stream building wire, because you know what could go wrong. I'm regretting this already. Hang on, I'm gonna have a little bit of Sprite while we're going. So thank you very much for everyone that's joined into the live stream, and I'll probably try and remember to put a thing in the description to say what when this video actually starts. Right, good. So let's get into this bugger, shall we? Let's get building some wire, and we'll have a little bit of a chat about the Daedalus V2 at the same time. So transfer over there. Let's see that nice swishy transition there, posh as you like. So what we've got here is the box that the Daedalus V2 comes in. We've got the drill, and we've got everything else, and I'll show you that in a moment. But just to go through the box for a little bit to start with, you can see that we've got it's by Avid Artisan and Lightning Vapes, and away you go. Now the V1 of this, I love this a lot. I thought it was a fantastic piece of kit, and away you go. But they decided that they needed to do some improvements on there. There you can see what you've got in the box, a bunch of stuff going on there, but let's have a little look and see what we've got in here exactly. So the drill and bits and bobs are out already, so we won't worry about those. Now what we do have is we do have a clamp. Now the clamp is there so you can stick this onto your desk or table or whatever else, and then you've got a swivel going on here. And this swivel, it's not a terrible one. It's not terrible, although personally when I have used it, I have used a couple of my own swivels on the end of there as well. I've just found that to be a little bit better, and it stops things banging up. Now the problem with this is the fact that it's a nice idea that it's included, but it's plastic, and so you know, depending on what you're screwing it onto, this sort of screw bit can kind of really go off on a wobble somewhere. So that, I don't know, and I don't like the idea of swapping this out for a metal screw, mainly because, or a big old metal bolt, because by doing that, then that's going to put a lot of pressure on the clamp itself. So you know, a lot of people will still use G clamps or whatever else to get going, I dare say. But that is in the box, so I do want to tell you about it. Now you get a couple of these extra straws, and or you get one extra, one that you're going to use, and I'll tell you about that later. In here we've got a little warning thingy-jiggy there, so to tell you about what's going on there. And once again, this is something that we will have a little look at as well. Now then, in here we've got a few bits and pieces that we will look at in a second. Finally, we've got a Daedalus. We've got sort of a kind of a manual going on here, but it's not brilliant. It's not a brilliant manual, to be honest with you. There is a someone remind me on in the chat there. There's a guy Zor something or other who's done a bunch of videos on the Daedalus, and he's absolutely worth going and checking out. Now you do get some lightning vapes, because this is made with lightning vapes as well. You do get a roll of 40 gauge, but to be honest with you, although I've sort of used it for testing, I've not vaped it. I don't really vape N80 these days. So that's that. We'll get rid of that box. Now they're moving those things away as well. We can have a little look and see what's in the bag of goodies. Oh, the face is frozen again. Oh, you bastards. Anyway, you don't need my face for this bit, so what I am going to do is boof. I'm going to get rid of my face altogether. So there we go. Boom. So you can see just what's going on. Hopefully this camera doesn't freeze. So what I'm going to do now is just show you the bits and bobs that we've got in the little bag. So what we've got is you do have an extra ball bearing swivel going on in there, which is pretty damn good. So Bosch, done. You've got an extra spring. This spring is for the top of the coil, the Claptoning wire that we'll see in a minute. And then you get some of these guides. Now then, let me just go in nice and close to these. So these guides, essentially on the side of them, will have what wire they're made for. Now this one is made, as you can see, hopefully there, for 24 gauge wire. And what you've got is this kind of hole in the side there is supposed to be able to keep the wires running smoothly side by side, so they don't go and go all kind of crossed over each other and all that sort of good stuff. So that's the idea of that. Now you've got this one for the 24 gauge. You do have, there we go, this one here for 26 gauge. Don't know if you can just about make that out. And then we do have this one here for 28 gauge as well. So you've got a bunch of these little things. Now, are these any better than using just paper clips on your wire to keep it together? You know, what can you say? I don't know. Now then, these little puppies work inside this. Now this is the guide that we'll see in a little while, but these basically go in there and then they spin around like little bastards, like you wouldn't believe. Now the problem that I've found with this, and one of the issues that I think there is with this, with the Daedalus 2, is when you do use this, I don't know whether it's because this has a little bit of wobble space in there. I don't know if it's because it's a mixture of the two materials or what. I don't know what's going on, but this seems to get bunged up super easily. So that's something that really kind of bugs me. It does kind of really get up my snout on that one. So but like I say, we will look at that in a little bit more detail a little bit later. So when it comes to the drill, I go out a little bit there. When it comes to the drill, I mean, these drills are quite good, but they do have their downfalls. First of all, the chuck. The chuck can, on my Daedalus V1, actually came off altogether, off the spindle. So I had to put that back in again. And when I did that, I just put some thread lock on it, and now it's fine and dandy again. Now, I also believe that young Davey Mottram had one of these for a couple of days and managed to break it sort of pretty much instantly. So this the chuck aspect of these is a little bit on the delicate side. Now then, what you've got on this side is you do have the two speeds, so not two speeds, two directions. So you've got one which is anti-clockwise, I think, and two which is clockwise if you're looking at it that way. So those are the two options you've got. On the other side, you do have the speed control as well, so you can start that moving, and you might be able to see if I zoom in a wee bit. You might be able to see that that's moving kind of pretty damn slowly at the moment, and that's going nicely. But if I spin this up, that does end up spinning speedy as you like, which is pretty good. And I don't mind this drill, to be honest with you. I know some people dislike it greatly, but I'm kind of okay with it. Now, one of the other things that you've got on this that you didn't have on the original one is you do have a USB charge point as well for your batteries, which are held underneath there. Boom, like that. Okay, so fairly simple, straightforward. It's got a sort of a rubbery coating on it, so that means that it kind of it sort of sticks to the table. No, it doesn't stick, but it's more difficult to move around the table, which I think is good. So yeah, that makes me pretty damn happy. Now then, when it comes to the jig, now this is where a lot of the changes have taken place with regards to this and the V1. So what we've got going on here, if I take this apart, this is where my wire goes crazy and just goes absolutely everywhere. Essentially, what you've got here is you've got a couple of nuts on the top, which I'll show you in a second. Just let me undo them. Should have had all this undone to start with, really, shouldn't I? That'd have been the professional thing to do. So what we've got here is we've got, this is the jig. Now this is different to the original in as much as this whole section here is cut out. This wasn't, Kazor, that was the guy. This section wasn't cut out. Now I think they've done that in order to try and reduce the friction of what goes on the bottom when this is going along your desk. But to be honest, I don't think it did a very good job. We'll see how it performs today, but the other thing as well is they've added these two screws either side. Now, if we go splendidly for the first sort of section of this video, then I'll show you these screws in action. But essentially, what these are here for is so you can, once your wire's through there, you can wrap some wire around there, wrap it over here, and that helps you make spaced Claptons or spaced fused stapled. I don't know, whatever it is when there's a space between things. So yeah, that helps that immensely, and it does work. It does work, but it's not brilliant. It is plastic. It's not made of anything special. If it was metal or even aluminium, I imagine it would be too damn heavy to move along the desk at all. But you can see that the wear that I've put onto this one just from Staggered, that's the kitty, for the wear that I've put onto this one just from general use. So what happens is you pop your wire on the top of there and then you feed it through here. Now this is something else that I wanted to show you, basically because it's had quite a lot of wear going on with this one, and I don't know, because this is so small, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it might do. There we go. If I can do that and stop the camera wobbling about, I know that's blowing out there, but you might be able to see at kind of 8 o'clock from where that hole is, there is a little kind of gash. Do you see that? Just a little little cut going on there, and that's something that's happened just from use, and it can happen more easily if your Clapton wire is too tight. But as we'll see later on, there is a reason for it to be pretty snug. But that obviously goes through there. You can see that we've got a little bit more of that kind of slicing through at the bottom there, and you know, to me, this means that it's a little bit of an oversight. There are slightly different angles somehow. So what's happening there is, you know, wire is getting caught in there from time to time, which is not great. Now you do obviously get wear down this little channel going on here as well. But you know, once again, dependent on how tight you have your Clapton wire, you can wear through this really, really quickly, or it can take a little while. My original one took ages. I don't think I've got this amount of wear on the original Daedalus V1, but I found that I didn't have to have the wire as tight to make that happen like I do on this one. But anyway, let's have a little look and see what goes on with this one. So if I zoom out a little bit, we can see how I'm going to set this up. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to, oh no, hang on, I forgot the straws. The straws. It's all about the straws. So what you've got here is these straws. It'll go inside the jig and it'll help stop your wire flapping about. Simple as that. So what you're going to do is you're going to pop your, on the back of the jig here, we've got a big hole. On the front of here, we've got a big hole, but it holds the guide, if you like. So all I'm going to do now is just pop the straw with the thick bit through the guide, and there's a little hole for it to go into. Right about somewhere around there. Where is it? Get in, you bugger. Get in. There we go. We're in. So now that's in there nice and snug. So basically it means that I can feed wire through, and it should go through pretty damn easily. Now the back of this, obviously they've got two straws in one, so you can extend it out to stop it flapping about like a good one on the other end. But no, there you go. That is the jig. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to get some wire. This is 34-35 gauge Canthal. I'm going to stick that on the top. Now, if I can zoom in a little bit more, you might be able to see the wire. There is the super thin wire going through there. I'm going to stick that through the top hole here, just so I can get this all in place. And then I'm going to slide the guide into the top of the jig. Just pull a little bit of Clapton wire out, and then I'm going to give it sort of a hard bend there just to stop it flying everywhere, or at least hopefully stopping it flying everywhere. Now then, at this point, this is the bit that needs the finesse, which is obviously not something that I have a great amount of. You get your spring, you stick that over the top, you push it down the threads. Go on, son, down you go. There we go. pushing that down the threads, and then this is going to keep a constant tension on your spool to stop your spool going all over the place. However, where I found the challenge with this particular device is getting the right amount of tension on your spool. So you need to screw down the nut to a point where you think, fuck it, we'll give it a go there, and then you get your other nut, stick that on the top, and then you can basically screw them together with your hands. All of that is made of plastic, and that's that locked off. So this won't then spin out as the coil is spinning round. Good? Happy with that? So, you know, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and does the trick. The challenge on this, like I say, comes from when you want to loosen or tension this one up, just to make sure it doesn't skip over itself and all that good jazz. Now then, let's go back out for the wide view. Now, what I'm going to use today is I'm going to use some 26 gauge from Stealth Vape, stainless steel. And the way I'm going to do this, because I haven't got the space under camera to use the swivels, I'm just going to make a couple of short-ish lengths just so we can see how things going. Now, I've pulled out the wire from the spool, and I'm just going to give it a little stretch just to make sure it stays nice and straight. And so, as you can see there, that is pretty damn straight. So I'm going to give that a cut, like so. Do the same again. Oh. Boom, a little bit of a stretch, just so it sits nice and straight, and give it a cut. Wallop. So I've got two straight bits of stainless steel there, so I can now get these into the Age of Me Flavour what's it thingy. So let's make sure we've got two of exactly the same length to begin with. Just cut those ends off there. And wallop, two lengths, that'll do nicely, chief. So I'm just going to pop that through the center hole that's going on here, and I'm sure you understand what I mean when I say center hole, but the hole at the bottom, the larger hole, not the holes where the Clapton wire is going to go, but this one down here. Stick that in there and zoom out to the wide again. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to move this wire through, grab hold of it with, actually we are going to need to go tight again. Hopefully you're going to be able to see it and my hands aren't going to get in the way too much. Let me go with a manual focus. Out some of those axles. Oh, that should do the trick. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold the two wires here. I'm going to try not to bend them. If you bend them around too much, it's a little bit too much. So, or you're not going to get it totally straight into the drill. So at this point, I've pulled out a section of wire that you might just be able to see, and then I'm just going to wrap it around the core wires like so. Trying to keep that reasonably snug. And I've gone manual, Dean, pay attention, you bellend. So maybe you can see what's going on there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my drill, place that in there, and away you go. Now what I used to do previously was to make sure that I sort of spread two of the legs of the core wire out at 90 degrees, and that would mean that they could go into the sort of the cuts in the jaws. But that's something I realised I didn't really need to do. So now I'm just going to make sure that I am nice and snug. I'm going to give this a little bit of, I think that wire is going to be a little bit tight, but we'll see how we go. And let's see which way round we're going. That way, good. And let's just see if it Claptons up. Hang on, how are we with the focus? I want to try and get you to be able to see this, if it goes all right. So let's see how that goes. So, and then I've turned the drill on one side, and now I'm just going to start the wheel on the side of the drill to see how it's going. So at this point I'm looking at it and it doesn't appear, I think it's bunching up like a bastard. So if I give it a little bit of a pull, it has bunched right in the middle there. So now we're going to try and give this a little bit of a tighten. and see how we go now. Give it some speed. And yeah, I've done that a little bit more so you can see that it has bunched up like a bastard right in the middle there. So now I'm going to loosen up the top wire, or the Clapton wire. We'll have another go. Now at this point this is going to bunch up again, and that's good because I want to show you how I've got things moving along. Because if I pull this out a little bit and go back to automatic, oh, where's the switch gone? There it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start this going, and I'm going to slide something underneath the jig and basically just give it a helping hand to get it moving. Once it gets moving, I find that I don't really have an issue with it generally, but now I've said that, it's all going to go horribly wrong. But let's have a okay, so we are bunching up still, so I'm going to tighten this back up. And this is what I said, that this is a gigantic pain in the dick, because you've got to kind of make sure that you've got enough tension on the wire to put tension on the Claptoning bit, but not so much that it fucks everything up. And there we go. Now we're going, and it's doing a grand job. So if we zoom in, so now we've got the bunches and things all happening up this end, but now we've got a clear run of Claptons. So it is one of these things where setting up the jig is a gigantic pain in the bum, but once you're sorted, it's doing a fine job. It's just pootling away by itself and doing what it says on the tin. So if we go out to the wide shot again, you can see that pootling away. So I get that people are saying it's not for them. I get people don't want it. I get that people don't like it, and that's absolutely fine. The key thing for me is the fact that, particularly for people like me that have rubbish grips or don't have very good fingers, or their hands don't work properly, this is making the Clapton for me. So I haven't got to worry about doing anything like that. I haven't got to worry about feeding the wire in. Now, Florian says the problem I got with the Daedalus was the wire was twisting like hell. Generally, if this wire over twists while it's going, it's because your Clapton wire is going just too damn tight. So if you loosen that up, it's that little aspect of being able to get the looseness of the spring on here and the Clapton wire doing what it needs to do. And that's why it's a bit of a pain in the hoop. Now then, what I'm going to do is just see if I can sort this other camera out while this is happening. How hard can it be, right? And then we'll start that up again. But this is just merrily going away, doing its thing. And we're almost there. So nearly there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slow that down for a second, and you might be able to see if I zoom in that there is quite the twist on the wire there. So at that point I could, if anything, just give that a little bit of a loosen, just like a quarter of a turn, and we'll see if that helps it or whether it makes things worse. Oh, wrong way. But we're coming up to the end of the Clapton up here. And that'll do us. That will do us. So all I've got to do now is give that a little bit of a pull. I'm going to make sure that this is stretched out this way. So, and that wire, I just felt that was super tight inside. That managed to work its way in that groove that I told you about earlier on. And that's another reason why this can get extra twisted. But at this point, what I'm going to do is, if I can, don't know if this is going to come through on camera, but you can see the twist that we've got going on in that Clapton wire now, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the other end with a pair of pliers. I'm going to switch direction on the drill. I'm going to have a certain amount of tension going that way, but not so much that I pull it out of the jaws, and then just really slowly twisting the drill in the opposite direction. And what this is going to do is it's going to take out a bulk of those final twists, which it's kind of done. Okay, so I will show you this up close in a second, and letting go of there, we've got just a couple of little twists in there. Undo it, but all in all, that's taken out the bulk of the twists. So you know, that's not too shabby. That's not too shabby at all. Wonder if we can see what sort of the state of the Clapton is like. Let's have a little look, shall we, and see if this comes through under camera. Hopefully you can see that that is a really tightly wound Clapton. There's no gaps in it. There's no fannying around going on there. It is just a tightly wound dual core Clapton, or fuse Clapton, the result is actually pretty damn good. Now then, what else do we do? Let me just, oh, there's too much of the table showing there. Let's go to the stage number 2 that I do. People loved this last time, so let's fucking do it again. Oh shit me. Now, fingerprints and all sorts going on here, but you know, those of you that have known me for a while will know what's coming. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the pasta maker. So all we're going to do here is make sure that I can turn it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this slowly into the rollers there. Actually, I'm just going to cut off the big old knots of stuff we created right at the start, and then the roller normally gets secured down, but obviously I can't do that on the table today. Oh shit me bollocks. Boom, there's one. I'll run it through again. Just like so, and boom, wallop. Now then, let me show you what we've got as a result of doing that. Woo! So now we've got the nice fuse Clapton, and it's much thinner. You can see there. So we've got more of a width than we have height, if you like, for want of a better word. So that just means that that for me, that it could be just completely in my head. It could be for a damn good reason. But for me, I like to flatten all of my Clapton wire because I get a little bit more wick coverage, and it just gives me a nice flavour, a nice vapor production, and it just does a grand job. So you know, that's all we've got to worry about really when it comes to this kind of thing. That just works out really well for me. Now then, I am going to just double check. Stick with me, gang, stick with me. I know we're unprofessional as fuck, but I am going to try and get this other camera sorted out. Where's the plug? There it is. And boom. Right, let's see if that works. But while that's happening, I will get I'm going to get my Coil Master stuff again. Should have had this up front, but didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Coil Master tool. I will do a 3mm coil going on there. Some of those apples, some of that. We'll get this through here. Now, a little tip for you: if you're going to use a Coil Master tool for Clapton work, then one of the things that you can do is get the end of it, get the end of your Clapton wire, and just give it a little bit of a turn and a little bit of a twist up, sandwich it together, and then that should, in theory, stop the Clapton wire on the outside from spinning off the end. Because when you're spinning this around, what can happen is you can force the Clapton wire to come off the end. But what I've done there is just given that a little bit of a turn over, and away you go. So now I can go for, let's go for 8 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, I'm going to go 7. 8 is just ridiculous. And we'll give that a little bit of a slice there. Boom. Cut through that. Make sure they're cutting through the Clapton wire. Then I am going to get that down there. Straighten that out. Give it a bit of a squeeze. And boom, wallop. There you go. A nice little Clapton, dual core Clapton. Legs coming out on the same planes going on there, but just a super quick build. And there you go. That is the favourite coil that I vape with a lot. It's usually 7 or 6 wraps depending on what I'm using them on. But that for me makes me jolly happy. And I think for someone that isn't able to always wrap them by hand, I think that result is something that you can be pretty happy with. Now, one of the things that you can do with this is, if you're using the swivels particularly, is you can make yourself a really kind of decent length of it, which is going to mean that you can cut it up in like 6-inch sections or whatever. And then just get yourself a good old stock of wire, which I think is a cracking idea. And that's something that I tend to do quite a lot. But no, that's it. That's how easy it is to make that. Now then, do you want to see, while we're at it and I can't go and use the other camera, we will, I'll show you sort of the brief kind of idea behind the what is it, stapled, staggered, whatever it is, that business. So, what have I done with the spools? Anyone see what I did with it? There it is. No, it isn't. It does make it, here we go. It does make it easier to do stuff when you don't lose stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a couple of short lengths of staggered, and we'll see if this is going to work. Sorry if you're hearing the notifications coming through on my computer. That's not ideal. But here we go. Am I still live? Am I still going? I hope so. I bloody hope so. Otherwise I'm just talking to myself like a lunatic. Okie dokie. So we'll make a staggered fused Clapton going on here. Now, in order to do that, you need to pull a length of your Clapton wire. So I'm going to get quite a long length going on there. Pull that out to one side once again. Oops. Cut that off. And we'll come back to using this section that we've just done in a minute. But to start with, what I'm going to do is I am going to possibly forget how to do this, but we'll see how we get on. Ooh. Feed the wires, the core wires, through there like so, as we did before. Now I'm going to pull out a little bit of this wire. Going to wrap it around as we did before. Oh, I've royally messed up that one. Oh, it's all looking horrible. It's all looking horrible. See, I should have quit while I was ahead. The rest of the thing seemed to work quite nicely, so you know. Right, good. So bent the wire, bent it, told you not to bend it, and I bent it. So what we're going to have here is we're going to have this the Clapton wire going through as usual. However, we're going to do something a little bit different. Now this is where we're going to use these extra screws that go around the outside. So what you've got to do here is wrap a section of your Clapton wire that you've just cut off, that we cut off earlier. Wrap that around one of these screws a bunch of times just to secure that in place. Like so. Try not to twist it up too much. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this over there, and it's going to create our spaced situation in a little while. Now what you can do is you can do that once you've put it in the drill, if you're not going to damage your core wires. For me, I mean, I've already bent my core wires there a little bit, but let's see if we can do it in the drill anyway, just for shits and giggles. So I'm going to put it in the drill the same way that we did when we were doing the regular Claptons. Just going to make sure that my core wire is nice and tight. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap this section that we attached to the screw on the side of the jig. I'm going to wrap that over, and then I'm going to come under the screw on the other side, and I'm going to try and keep that reasonably tight. This has to be pretty damn tight to work. So I'm going to do that. If this works first time, I will lose my mind. Okie dokie. Now, once again, this is something else that you have to then kind of fiddle about with to get it to go right, if you like. But let's have a little, hang on, I'm going to spin it this way. Let's have a little go and see how we're going to get on. Give it that little bit of a push. Oh, no. We've got the... This is where it kind of gets a little bit awkward, and getting the tensions right and all that sort of shit. Is it worthwhile at the end? I think so. Bear with me. I hate it when people say bear with me. It used to really wind me up. Right, now let's see if this is any better. So what's happening is the extra wire that's going on the outside is going to give us that space between the Claptons, or between the Clapton wraps, if you like. In theory, at least. Doesn't help that I can't really see what I'm doing because I'm a bit blind. Yeah, no, I've not got enough. I'm not tight enough. I'm not tight enough. Told you I should have quit when I was ahead. But if this works this time, the crowds will go wild. Wild, I tell you. Absolutely flipping crazy. Okie dokie. Now, I think we're all right. I don't think I'm stuck on anything. So let's give it a go. Give it a little bit of pressure, pulling back just to get it started. Okay, and away we're going. Now, obviously, if you want to do kind of proper stapled, you do this on individual strands rather than on the dual core that I'm doing here. I just figured that it would sort of be a little bit more obvious if I did it on two cores rather than a single core. But if you're doing this on single cores, then you put the two together, and then you can use a similar sort of practice as we did to start with, just for getting the wraps to go in between them. So you've got a stapled, staggered, fused, whatever thing, maybe, whatever it's called. But anyway, let's just get there. We're nearly at the end of this one already. It's only a short length that I'm doing. That'll do. Okie dokie. So I'm going to cut that there. Unscrew this here. And yes, I haven't straightened it out. Well done, Dean. But hopefully you'll get an idea from what we're going for. And waiting for the autofocus to kick in. Ding. Okie dokie. So can you see that those outer cores are now staggered? Hopefully you can see that. And they're staggered out pretty damn evenly as well, so it kind of works pretty damn well. But it is just a bit of a fanny around to get working to start with. So hopefully you can see those. But yeah, it is a little bit of a pain in the dick to get going. But if you do this on single core wire, then what will then happen is you can then put the two cores, and then when you Clapton over the top, it'll fall in the space that you've created by doing this kind of process. So there we go. Hopefully that will answer a bunch of questions about the Daedalus. Now then, what do we reckon I can make this? I'm doing something dangerous now. This may or may not work. It may even just completely blow out my entire video. We will see. Hold you on a second, ladies and gentlemen. You probably can't hear me at the moment, but what? So it's just a waiting game now for this to sort itself out. So yes, what we've made there is we've made a regular dual core fused Clapton, and we've made some staggered wire as well. Now obviously you can make your coils with the staggered if you so wish, and it is very doable, but it is just the Daedalus V2 seems to be way more of a fuck about than the V1 ever was, and that's the thing that really boils my nards. It's something where I think it should be much easier to use, and because of that, it gets kind of a thumbs down going on. Now then, how much do they cost? This is a very good question. Let's have a little transition. I hope Mr. Todd's watching, just so you can see those sexy transitions that I was doing. Now then, what's it called? Daedalus V2. It's already on there anyway. So what we've got going on here, you can see that if we look on the eSig warehouse, have I ever made anything from eSig warehouse? I don't know. $46.99, but it doesn't look as though they're in stock. So there's a bunch of places in China. Let's have a little look and see if there is. Hang on, why all results? No, I want UK. Where is that gone? What's going on here? There used to be a thing here that's, oh, bastards. Anyway, so you can find it. They're floating around all over the place. They're not a huge amount of money, to be honest with you. They're not a huge amount of money. So, you know, let's see, what's this Audacious Vapes? I've got a great camera in the way. $48.99. Boom, wallop. Is that in stock? Can't see. Might be, possibly. But there you go. So that's the kit, under 50 quid. If you have issues when it comes to making coils, then, you know, this is a possible fix for that. Is it going to be for everybody? No, of course it's not. Is it going to be for people that have got dexterous issues or that are lazy? Then bloody right it is. Absolutely. It is. It's a lazy way of doing things, but the results it gets you with a little bit of finessing can be quite good. So there we go. So where we got going on in chat, let's have a little look and going on here. Fantastic job, well done, May. Thank you for doing this video. I was waiting on you to do this because I knew you'd do it right. Well, I think we've already established that I've not done it right, but we've done it so it works. I like the own boy Josh method. Fantastic. Let's say there isn't a single, you know, one size fits all kind of situation with this sort of stuff. It's one of those things where it just, for me and for what I do, if I set the jig up and I can make kind of like a meter length at a time, and I can just set it away and off it pops, then that allows me time to do other things. I've got to focus on what I'm doing, just give it a little glance now and then to make sure it's not snagged up on anything. That for me is a time saver. And it's something for me. It's that time I can then, you know, I can do other things. So that works out nicely for me. Now I'm not saying that, like I said, I'm not saying that this is the be all and end all for Clapton making, but I'm saying it's a tool that some people can make. You with me? I prefer my own electric drill. Crack on. Lovely old job. The only advantage to the new one is that the old straws stop the wiggling. Absolutely. Yeah, the straws are good. And also the fact that you've got these screws. I mean, I guess you could blang some screws in the previous jig as well. But you know, it's a thing. There you go. Is it the V2 or Pro? It's version 2, which they also call Pro. There you go. So there we go. It's the Pro. It is the Pro. But version 2, second one. It's the second one. Now then, I always make 3 foot at a time and I get about 6 coils out of it. Absolutely. It took me a few hours practicing to get my tension and distance down with the drill, but now it's easy. It's as easy as setting up. Absolutely. Got tips for single core Clapton. My core most of the time slides out afterwards, no matter the tension I put on it. Again, that is a tension thing. to be honest with you. Basically, for a single core, it's a case of you're going really tight on the screws on the top here, and away you go. But once again, give it a little bend on the end, and that'll stop things kind of shooting off the end. Stop the Clapton shooting off the end when you're doing the when you're building the coil. Does that make sense? Not for lazy people. If you do it right, it takes human error out. Absolutely, absolutely. The bunching up the coil, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing worse than if you're trying to make aliens, or you're trying to do something special, and then you're kind of doing it by hand, and then you get so far along, you're like sort of 6 inches in, and then it all just goes wrong. You have to then wind it back and try and get it right, and then it rarely looks as perfect as it should do, and it's all a gigantic pain in the hoop. So once you get this going, you can do good lengths of it, and it'll do a grand job. It's how I do it. Like I said, not for everybody, but it's an option, and that's what we're all about. We want to give you options so you can do stuff if you want. If you don't want to, crack on, carry on using your drill. It's not a law, but it's something. It's an option. If you do want to see some more videos on the Daedalus, and including, I think he shows how to shows how to do some alien stuff as well, I can't remember, then go and check out the channel Kazor, K-Z-O-R. Very nice chap by the looks of it. Never spoken to the man, but he seems to be very, very nice. And he's got a bunch of videos on the Daedalus on what you can do with it, so go and check him out, because I think you'll get some interesting information from him. But what else? If you want to go back to building kind of the regular way, for those of you that haven't been vaping a huge amount of time, check out on YouTube the videos from Squid Dude, Ownboy Josh, even Ownboy OC, I think he had a couple, and obviously Kent of Twisted Messes. So those are all some solid channels that you can go and check out to learn more about coil building if you so wish. But I think that's about it. This could have gone worse. We had camera issues, but that's nothing new. So it could have gone worse. Should I hang on, look at this, look. If I do some of that action, and then if I hold on a minute, and hopefully I can show you Mr. Kazor, so you know who you're looking for when it comes to, here we go, look, monster transition. Are you ready? There we go. So this is a channel that you want to go and see if you want to see a bunch of Daedalus stuff. But like I said, there is just a crap ton of all sorts of people to go and check. So go and see what they're up to. Is there a way to tighten the chuck? My drill won't hold any wire without it pulling out. What I would suggest is to completely take off the outer section of the drill. So you can completely remove that, and then once you're out of here, then just try and, does this come apart any further? I can't remember off the top of my head, but make sure you don't have any wire sort of trapped when you look in between the jaws and all that sort of stuff. Make sure there's no wire trapped in there that could upset proceedings. But no, other than that, that's about it, I think. My eyesight isn't good enough to make Clapton wires. This may be my answer, absolutely. And the key thing for me is, I think that everybody that uses rebuildable tanks or drippers should be able to build their own wire. It's great that you can go out and purchase pre-built coils and all that sort of stuff. You know how much I really like the MTN coils and the Pilgrim Vapes coils. You guys know that already. However, I can build coils, so I know what does it for me. I know that 7 wraps on the coil that we made up earlier on will be a spot-on vape for how I like to vape. I know if I want to go a little bit cheekily low on a mech and I'm using a 21700 and it's all going great guns, I can do 6 wraps for a dual coil atomizer, and I can have a bloody good vape from it, and it'll punch your face off, and it'll come through, it'll be about 0.11 or thereabouts. Because I have been building long enough to know what kind of coil works for me. If you're going out and you buy coils, you don't necessarily know the different options. You don't necessarily know which materials can work better for the way you vape. And so learning to build, I think, is super, super important. If you've got that down, brilliant, go out and buy whatever you fancy. But you'll find that doing this will save you money, it'll save you a lot of aggro, and you'll be able to tailor that vape more precisely to what exactly works for you. Does that make sense? Good. Right. Brilliant. Now then. I thought I had a nitro, but I don't think I have. Yes, I have. Right, so, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully I answered everyone's questions that were in the chat there. Here we go. Look, we've got the problem I have is the thinner wire keeps splitting off. That's just because the tension you've got on here is too tight, or it's getting caught up. Look at the state of the guide, because if that guide has been wrecked, if that's got the slice in it like mine did, then that can grab hold of the wire and split your wire as it's going through. So if you're finding that this is splitting off, the Clapton wire is splitting off, then I'm excuse me, I'm going to guess that you're also getting a lot of twisting in the Clapton as it's happening, and that's because this is too tight. So what you've got to do is you've just got to loosen it off like a quarter of a turn each time until you get it to a point where it kind of is too loose, and then it just takes time. That's all it is. And that's about it. That's it, gang. So, or maybe a badly wound spool. Absolutely, DNS84. Maybe a badly wound spool. So, yeah, there we go. Right, that's it, I think, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for sticking with me on this one. I don't know how long we've been going, but I think this could have gone worse. Hopefully the quality was okay for you. Hopefully the sound was okay and all that sort of good stuff. If you liked this and you're not subscribed, then please hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the little bell on there as well, just to make sure that we give YouTube every chance of giving us notifications, even though that rarely does work. But we'll see, you know. You got to be in it to win it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon. Have it larger.